On the 27th of March 2024 at 5 p.m, I drove home in my dream BMW M4. And on that drive home in my new M4, it was a complete mix of emotions. I was scared, happy, and in complete bliss. I had achieved my dream car. And that feeling of driving home for the first time in your dream car, well, the only thing that can replicate that exact feeling is buying your next dream car and driving home in that. Now that I've owned the car for a bit of time, going on about 10 months now, and I've been making videos on it, changing it quite a bit from the original yellow to different color, different exhaust, wheels, etc. Well, there's been some pros and cons to ownership. I recently just made the videos on my 5 favorite things and my 5 least favorite things about owning this exact car, but today's video is a little bit different. It's a reality check. What it's like to own a tuned BMW that's over 10 years old and how it's keeping up and what repairs I've done. Costly repairs I have done. So this goes for any performance European car, especially older ones, 10 plus years old. So make sure you take into account what I'm saying before you go out and drop a lot of money on an old European sports car. Because as everyone knows, European sports cars, they can be great, but they can also be a little bit expensive. One thing that's really important to note, and was important when I bought this car, and it's partially the reason why I actually bought this exact car, is the previous ownership. Now, this is going to play into effect how reliable and how well looked after the car is going to be going into the future. Because the first owner, if they didn't look after it well, the car's not going to look after you well as the second or the third owner. So I bought my car as a one owner car from new. The guy bought it brand new, ordered it in. It was actually one of the original Austin Yellow first launch models. He owned it since new, full service history through BMW. I think he was in his 50s from memory, so he was an older gentleman, and that's when I got it after him. So that's pretty much your ideal person you want to own this car before. You don't want some young 20-year-old who's going to tune it and take it to the racetrack and do many silly things in it. I'm not talking about myself, just in general. So here we are exactly 300 days later from the first day I drove it home. It's a little bit different to when I first bought it. But don't worry, in the video I'll go over the mods, but not just the mods, how they've actually affected the ownership experience of the car, if they've caused any issues going forward. And as we just spoke about previous ownership and servicing, that's exactly where we're going to start. I know servicing may sound very boring, and young people who are looking to buy sports cars don't really care about the service aspect. They care about the mods and the cool things you can do to the car. But trust me, that's something that can creep up on you. This isn't like a Toyota where you get $299 cap price servicing for the next 10 years. No, it's far from that. If you buy a brand new BMW, they might give you a service plan, but when you're buying a 10, 11-year-old one, there is no service plan. So when it goes to servicing the car, let's say a minor service, just oil, oil filter and cabin filter. If you go to BMW here in Australia, that's around $600-ish. If you go to a third-party mechanic like I did for the recent service, who still knows obviously what they're doing, I think I paid around $400, just over $400. So not a cheap oil change. But then you have to go into major items on your major service, like your spark plugs and etc. Well, then it can go into thousands for a service. A major service on a car like this can really depend on what has to be done. But averagely speaking, through BMW, you're probably talking around 1,500 Australian dollars. And the parts can just go up and up and up, because if something goes wrong that they notice during the service, as in there's an oil leak or something like that, well, of course they have to fix that. And yeah, the sky's the limit. I've seen people go in for a service thinking it's going to be $600 oil change service, and they've ended up spending $3,000. So it's a really important thing to make sure the car has got that full service history and to make sure everything has been done on time and exactly what needed to be done was done. It's not like the major service was due at 60,000 Ks, but they did it at 90. That's a big red flag. Now, servicing the car is just your general maintenance, but another thing that's also general maintenance is your tires and brakes. Now, as much as I love them, I also love my license. So I keep the burnouts and drifts to a minimum. Even if you're not doing burnouts or drifting the car, if you're driving the car like a sports car should be driven, well, like a dog with a bone, it will absolutely chew through those tires and those brakes. After I tell you this, you might not want to do burnouts or drifts in this car or take it to the track, because this car, the best tire for them is what I've got on it, the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. Now, each of those tires is $500. There's 4 tires, so $2,000 in tires all around the car. On top of that, well, you've got the brakes as well. Now, mine are actually getting close to due, especially the rear ones. I knew that when I bought the car, but yeah, I'm gonna need to replace them soon. And as you can imagine, they're not $300 to change. Aftermarket for new pads and rotors, it's gonna cost me around $1,500 to replace the brakes. I don't even know how much BMW would quote me, and I don't really want to know, because yeah, I can imagine it won't be less than the aftermarket price. But what I was talking about is general maintenance. You have to do that on any car, from a BMW M4 to a 90s model Nissan Navara. You have to maintain the car. What has gone wrong in mine though? To start off inside of the car. Now, a little side note, I wore suede shoes to the most dusty car park in the whole of Australia. So anyways, that's my problem. First problem was inside of the car. When I bought this car, knock on wood, there's none in the car, but let's pretend I did. The only one issue I had was this head unit. For some reason, it was making a knocking noise through the head unit. As in, the DVD player had a disc either stuck in it, or I don't know what the case was, but it kept making a knocking sound. Literally just like a tuk, 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 and it wouldn't stop. It just wouldn't stop no matter what you did. So that drove me insane, and I decided to get that replaced. On top of that, the music wasn't working. There was a lot of glitches with the actual original head unit. So I got that replaced, and I had to replace the whole head unit, take apart the whole dash to fix it, and that cost me around $2,000 to get that whole thing replaced. All because this one knocking sound, which didn't need to be fixed, but it annoyed me. Mechanical issue. Let's talk about mechanical issues, because everyone comments on every video about how unreliable BMWs are. So here we are, the engine. Can you see the issues? Neither can I, because it's actually from underneath the car. Being a BMW, of course, we're talking about an oil leak. So knock on wood, we've only had one so far, and that's when they did the service on the car. They lifted it up to drop the oil, and they noticed that there was a leak going on underneath the engine. Luckily for us, it was a very easy fix. It was a very small sweat that just built up over time, but now it's clean as a whistle. I'm gonna say the truth, and my heart absolutely sank. I thought it cost me a motor when they told me there's a lot of build-up oil residue underneath the motor in the tray. But we're all good. Being a BMW owner though, you're always gonna have oil leak scares. Like this one I had recently, thanks to my little friend. Let me show you.
I pulled the M4 out to shoot a video, and when I say my heart sank, I thought my car was leaking oil everywhere, but no. My dog decided to piss right there. Literally gave me the biggest heart attack. I thought it was the end of the M4.
Being an honest review, of course, I've got to talk about the mods as well, because that does affect the reliability. So we're going to go over each mod and how that's affected the ownership of this car. If you look at this car right now and look at a photo of the car when I bought it, the main difference obviously is the floating center caps on the wheels. Yeah, no, it's the wrap. So the car has been wrapped for over 6 months now. It was done by my friend at Visionary Motorsports, and well, it's a good wrap. I'm happy with it overall, and there's no peeling, no damage to the wrap, no nothing. So far, the wrap is still 10 out of 10 how it looked when I picked it up. So, happy with that. The next and most expensive mod I did to the car was the full titanium M Performance exhaust. I mean, with a rumble like that, there's not many complaints I can have. A lot of people have mixed opinions on this car because of the engine and the 6-cylinder, it's quite raspy. But in my opinion, the M Performance exhaust is probably a top 3 exhaust system you can put on this car. The only problem I do have with this exhaust is it can be a bit obnoxious. And well, my car lives in the garage. When I turn it on, it can wake up the whole house, which is a problem because I like to film my videos early in the morning. For example, this morning, I had 3 people in the house that were sleeping and I had to pull the car out. So even if the valve's closed and everything, it is quite a loud system on cold start. It literally shakes these carbon pieces, which makes it sound like it's broken because it's rattling. But no, that's just because of the sound. Once the car's heated up, as you can see at an idle, it's quite quiet. This is with valves open, but when you rev it, well, it can be quite the opposite and a bit antisocial, but I like it. And the same thing goes for these wheels. As cool as they are, especially with my spinning BMW logos, they can be a little bit annoying. These are original BMW M666 competition wheels. They look awesome. They get very dirty, obviously, because they've got the chrome on them, and whenever you drive off-road or just the brake dust, get them filthy. But the main issue is these are bigger than the original wheels. My original wheels on this car were 19 inches. These are 20, so they're bigger wheels with lower profile tires. The problem with that is it gives more road noise when you're driving. Especially when you're driving around 80 to 100 k's an hour, you can hear a bit of that road noise from the low profile tires. But the good thing is once you turn on your music or your radio, well, you can't hear it anymore. Having lower profile tires, along with having lower ring springs, you can see there's not a lot of clearance between the fender and the wheel. I recommend to everyone to actually lower their M3 and M4 because it looks so much better and actually makes the performance better. It's a better drive than those higher, spongier springs. Regardless of how awesome it looks, well, the problem is underneath here, it gets completely scraped. And when I bought the car, I actually had to fix that because it was completely damaged and went all the way through the plastic splitter. A lot of people have asked me, why don't I get a carbon front splitter? And that's the exact same reason. I don't want to spend $2,000 on a real carbon splitter or even a fake one if it's just going to get scratched every time I enter my driveway. On a little side note, I don't know how people drive those cars fully stanced and the wheels are absolutely inside the guards. Every time I go over a speed bump in this car, I scrape it or get scared I'm going to bottom out the exhaust. So I think you guys just don't care, but all to you, because I don't think I could do it, because every time I hear that scrape, it hurts my soul a little bit. Now I've left the best till last, the question everyone has. How has my intakes and the tune affected the car and its reliability? So as we know, I've got these cheap intakes that were put on the car. These aren't even truly $5,000 intakes. And everyone comments, I'm gonna heat soak my engine with these. I'm gonna absolutely seize my motor because of these intakes. But let me tell you, it's been, I wanna say 3-4 months now. Not one issue at all. Keep in mind, I drive the car hard probably 5% of the time. The rest of the time, the car's being driven pretty normally, just cruising around. So it's not like I'm doing 3 hours on the track and the engine's getting to 200 degrees. No, it gets a bit of performance, but then I let it cool down before I turn the car off anyways. So heat soaking isn't really an issue that I'm worried about at all. On top of that, the tune, I did it about 2 months ago, stage 1, and it's been great so far. No issues, everything's running perfect, as it should be. I've got no plans to go stage 2 or stage 2 plus. I've actually got a few friends who are stage 2 plus, and well, all they do is spin the tires all the way into 4th gear, and they get a lot of issues. One of them, for example, I know he told me he gets issues every couple of weeks. He's got something that he has to fix. My car in 10 months has had nothing mechanically wise that's been needed to fix. So in my opinion, it's not really worth that extra horsepower to get more issues and just to be spinning the tires, considering I already do spin the tires. And well, like I said, I don't really need to lose my license. So 600 horsepower at the rear wheels and another $5,000 to $10,000 in mods, it's not really something I'm too excited to be doing. I know this video was me kind of focusing more towards the negatives of a 1-year ownership review on this car, but there is a lot of positives as well. I've actually loved owning this car from beginning till now. Not every car has been like that. Most of the cars I've had dramas with and I wasn't happy with them and I sold them in the end. But this car, so far, nothing. I know that's the most common word of today's video. So far, it's been smooth sailing, generally speaking. Every time I drive the car, I get a smile on my face and I love driving it. And I'm not planning on getting rid of it anytime soon, unless the M5 comes along. Don't get excited, that's probably not gonna happen. So that wraps up another Performance Nick video. I wanna thank you all for watching and tuning into another video. Hopefully this didn't scare you away from buying an M4. That wasn't the point of this video. You should definitely buy one if you want one. So make sure to like, comment and subscribe. I appreciate you all tuning in every Tuesday. Next Tuesday you'll get a video. And for every other Tuesday of this year, you'll also get a video. So shout out to all the people that tune in every week. I really appreciate you guys, and to all my new viewers, thanks for checking in. Drop me a subscribe, I'd like it. Thank you very much. Have a good week. I'll see you in a week's time, and thank you for watching. Wait, you thought it was over? I didn't give you guys a pull in this video. I always have to give you guys a pull, so one for the boys. Thanks for watching.